Hey, what's up? Welcome to Degen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the chart behind me, which is of CleanSpark, ticker symbol CLSK, which had quite an exciting week last week, as you can see with this big green candle going up more than 68% on the week, going up over 32%, nearly 33% on Friday, closing the week at a price of $13.95, putting in a new 52-week high of $14.59 over the course of the week. And so in this video, I wanted to go through the daily chart so we can look at some of the price action, where price might be going to. And I do think there could be some pullback opportunities, but I do also think price could go a lot higher. So I'm just going to take you guys through that based on some drawings that I've done. In last week's video, I did have this Fibonacci retracement up, and I just included the levels that stand out to me as important for this video. And one of those being the 50% retracement at a price of $7.83. Prior to that video I did last week, we did see a wick down to that level, and we saw these two candles closing below and then opening below that level. And so that seemed like it was a really good dip buying opportunity. I was expecting price to go down to the 618 at a price of $7.49, being right around this gap here at $7.39, but we did not go down there before earnings, which were on the 8th here. And so I do think that gap will likely be left behind, but I did just want to go over those levels because I think that it's nice to know that one of them was a good dip buying opportunity. And yeah, now price has taken off. But if we do take a step back, there are a couple things that I do want to go over that I adjusted from last week's video, those being these lines here, the red one and orange line. They correspond to something that I think is pretty exciting, and so I'll go over that in just a second. But I do want to point out this line with the RSI, as it does look like we have put in a higher high with the price. RSI does look like it is a lower high, and so that is bearish divergence. However, if price does continue to go higher, I suspect RSI will go higher, and so this signal could be negated. And so with that, we do see the week closing with an RSI on Friday at 76.49, and this high over here was at an RSI of 79.56. So we really do want to see the daily RSI getting above that level, ideally seeing it get to 80. And so I think that would negate this signal. However, this is in the overbought territory, so I don't think that this run-up will be able to continue on much longer before the RSI does need to cool off. So something to keep in mind, but really we do want to see RSI above 80 to negate that bearish signal. And I suspect we'll probably see that over the course of the week because there are some pretty bullish things that do stand out to me. And those things are taking a step back here, looking at the bigger picture. And so basically these two lines are necklines. That's what I view them as. And so this red line corresponds to an inverse head and shoulders pattern where you can see a head here, left shoulder over here, and then the right shoulder over here. And from that, we can take a measurement from the top of the head here to the neckline. And so that represents about a $5.40 move. And if we take that and move that to where the neckline was broken, that brings price right around this orange line, right around the peak that we see there. That is at a price of $13.56. That was the high before the turnaround. So that measurement, that measured move, predicted that rally perfectly. So I think that is pretty cool. And so, moving on from that neckline, we can see this orange neckline up here at a price of $13.56. We do have what looks like a giant head here, a left shoulder over here, and then it does look like we formed a right shoulder over here, piercing that neckline, actually closing above it. So I do think this could set us up for a pretty big move into the future. And so by doing the exact same thing that I just did, taking a measurement from the top of the head to the neckline, that represents almost a $12 move. And so if we take that measurement, move it to the break of the neckline, we see that that could bring price to above $25. So I think that's pretty exciting. However, I do think that price will likely need to cool off, likely around the orange line here. But I do think that $25 does seem pretty feasible. And another way that we can get to that price, thinking that it does seem feasible, is by doing another Fibonacci retracement. I actually did this one in last week's video. So going from the high there to the low here. And so from that, not only can we see some levels to the upside that price might be going to, which I'll show you in just a second, but we can also see some levels that might be acting as support if we do get a pullback. One of those being the 786 here at a price of $12.03. Another one being the 618 at a price of $10.83, being pretty similar to this gap fill here that would be at a price of $10.54. So I could see price returning to that. I could also see price going lower, like to the 50%, right around $10, or to this gap fill at 934. But realistically, I do feel like with that inverse head and shoulders pattern, I don't think we'll see too much of a pullback. So I think that really, we might just see this gap fill at 1054. I don't think these two gaps below that will be getting filled, but just something to keep in mind that we could be seeing a pullback to either 1203, 1083, or right around $10.50, or this 50% retracement right around $10. So keep that in mind. But if we do consider the 1618 extension, which I have to scroll up to see, that brings price to $17.98. So on the way to that $25 price target. So that does make me think that, price could still be going a lot higher. But, also, I didn't mention this in last week's video, but we could also do a 2618 retracement. And if we do that, guess where that price is going to be? Right around $25, corresponding to that measured move. While, I think that is a pretty big extension, I do think that price could be making its way towards $25. But really, first, I think we're going to need to see a cool off, and that could happen following, a move up to $18, hitting the 1618, and then pulling back, cooling off, testing 1356 as support before continuing higher up to that $25 target. And so, if we do see a rally, if we do see a continuation, it's quite possible it might be stopping around $18. But I do think that the current price, right around the current price, I think that's going to be tested as support. And so we will want to see multiple closes above 1356. We've seen one. It's quite possible we see a pullback tomorrow, either to these levels down here or possibly further than that. But if we do see a pullback to the 786 or the 618, I do think that could be a good buying opportunity before at least another attempt at putting a new 52-week high in and then settling around 1356 before continuing much higher. So, I think it's pretty exciting. I did not expect to see this in the chart today. But yeah, I'm stoked that 25 seems like it's definitely on the table. But, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching.